Welcome to the Look Good Move Well podcast.
All right, Satya. How's your Suits? How's your Suits watching going these days?
Okay, you told me that something big was coming, and right at the end of the last episode that I watched, it dropped. So I don't know who's watched Suits out there, if I'm going to spoil anything for people.
Yeah, well, you don't have to do no major spoiler alerts here, but
but I thought it was funny that you shared with me that some of the episodes were making you so anxious you had to fast forward through them.
Yes.
And now I'm starting to see okay, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, things got intense there at the end of season 5. Yeah, and then I just started blitzing through season 6. I really just had to what is the outcome of this thing?
Is it gonna be okay?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, I'm already on episode 13 of season 6. What's happening? Yeah, Suits has been an interesting experience. It's my first show that I've sort of binge watched in years. Ozark, I think, was the last one that I did on Netflix.
Yeah, I was into Ozark.
Yeah, it was
super
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the thing I have found interesting about Suits is they really make drinking alcohol seem so cool. It's amazing. It's I'm watching them drink whiskey
Nonstop.
What's that? Nonstop. It's every day there's somebody drinking whiskey. And so of course we're at Christmas Eve, and everyone's having different, little cocktails. I'm not drinking. And I don't even remember what happened. It was there was a bottle of something on the counter, and I smelled it, and I was like, what's this? I was like, oh, it's whiskey. I was like, well, do you have any Macallan, 12 or whatever? What is
Macallan 18?
Is it 18 that he drinks?
Well, I mean
there's 12, 18, and 36 or 32 or something.
Yeah.
The 32 is $15,000 a bottle.
Yeah.
I looked it up. It's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my brother had an unopened bottle of 12.
Yeah.
And he poured me an ounce, and it was just, I was like, okay, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to be like Harvey Specter, just sipping my Macallan 12.
Sipping your Macallan. I really enjoy whiskey. Yeah.
I
really
kind of had
into
to choke it down. I don't even think I finished
Did
my
you
little
sip
one.
it?
Yeah.
Did you have any ice or just straight?
Just,
yeah.
Yeah. Whatever they say, neat.
Neat.
Yeah,
straight up.
It was neat.
It was
so
neat.
neat.
It was not neat for you.
It was not neat. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna be doing that.
Not gonna be a whiskey guy after all. As cool as it looked.
What's the difference between whiskey and scotch?
It's in the, it's just in the process of how they make it. I forget exactly, but there's something about the different material of the oak barrels or different types of barrels, different aging process. I don't know. Somebody out there knows way more than me, so maybe you can send us a DM. And
when I was visiting my brother at Thanksgiving, they, I don't even know all the details of this story, but I just remember him sending me a picture from his backyard, and it was they were having a scotch tasting with this very famous scotch brand.
Ooh.
who has whose part owner is Nick Faldo. So Nate's ears perked up. Satya's like, who that? He's a very famous British golfer who I grew up watching, was a big fan of, and my brother sent me a text message with a picture of him and Nick Faldo drinking scotch in his backyard. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm so confused here. But it turns out that he did some charity event, and they were hanging out with him, and he brought over a bunch of scotch, and they tasted it, and it was an auction for the school, and my brother auctioned, he bid on this thing, and it was this. He's like, oh, let me show you this thing. He brings out this wooden box that is super super ornate, looks very interesting, and you like press a button and it like kind of opens up, and then there's this like, you know, glorious looking bottle of something in it that hasn't. I'm like, what is this thing? This is wild. So anyway, he's like, I'm like, can we try it? He's like, no, you can't open this. Like, this is a collector's item. Like, this is never going to get open for another 30 years, and then we'll hopefully sell it for something. I was like, okay, whatever.
Wow.
Okay, so that's the end of the Suits and Scotch conversation.
All right.
And we're talking today about training splits.
Yeah.
When the heck are you supposed to do a full body training split? When are you supposed to do a regional training split? Regional body part? When are you supposed to do a body part split, aka bro split? What are splits?
What are splits?
And what do you think is the biggest misconception or misunderstanding that's going on here?
Oh, so many. I mean, I think that there's just a lack of understanding, generally speaking, about how the whole thing works. Like, how do you really build muscle in your parts, look good, get fit, get strong? How does that even work when it comes to the division of all of the exercises and areas that you want to hit versus the time that you have to train?
Yeah, it's there's like so many variables that we're trying to, you know, manipulate for the sole purpose of getting people to train hard enough to create a adaptation.
Yeah. And I'll say one more thing, which is that I think that this is one of those areas where people nerd out a little too much. And it's like, ooh, I got to get the perfect like push pull legs routine, or like hit the chest on just the right moment. And it's like, just go and train, like go lift some stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hard.
There's the nerding out on training splits and all of the ways that people try and break up their, you know, programs and weeks of training is it's like, it's like getting really, really like super nerded out on like which brand of Greek yogurt has the best amino acid profile.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, well, they're all pretty much the same. They're all going to get you about the same amount of protein, and just go with the one that you like.
Yeah.
You know, the one that's affordable, the one that tastes good, the one that whatever, that you just, you know, is at the store that you already go to.
Yeah. It's got a good looking package.
Right? Yeah. So, but that's not to say that there aren't reasons to follow different training splits. But the goal here is like, why are we even talking about this? Because in order to get the best adaptation out of your muscles for strength and hypertrophy, building muscle, you know, which we talk about building muscle all the time. Like, I'm in a constant pursuit of building muscle, but I haven't built like noticeable muscle in years. Like, I haven't increased my lean mass substantially. So people are like, why you're not even building muscle? It's like, well, hell yes, I'm building muscle, because every day I got to give my body a stimulus to hold on to this muscle and to keep working to, you know, maintain it and remodel my muscle, and in the process burn calories and maintain good body composition, all the above. So building muscle is it's like a process. It's like we want to just, it's not necessarily the outcome that we're talking about. It's the process of building muscle that we have to be in pursuit of.
That's right.
And that is accomplished through rest and recovery, nutrition, but also training. And you have to get an adequate stimulus of training to build the muscle. Now, what's the best way to do that? That's where we're starting to that's what we start to talk about. And there's so many things that will impact the best way to do that.
Yeah.
The thing that actually makes the muscles grow is tension, mechanical tension, stress on the muscles. So hard sets under resistance. How many sets? How frequently should you do sets for that body part? What's too much intensity that then you start to get injuries or aches and pains that then force you to take rest? When are you overtraining and not progressing anymore? Like, all of those variables are things we have to pay attention to, and they're not all encompassed in just a training split.
Yeah.
Like go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to say that I think that it's a mistake some people make of looking at someone who they admire with maybe a body that person admires and wanting to do their training split to get that same outcome. And it's akin to asking someone what their macros are and their calories are when they have an entirely different lifestyle, body composition, height, weight, goal, experience level than you.
Yeah.
And it's not a one-to-one equation. And so I think my advice is there's not one perfect training split for everyone. It's an individual thing to figure out what works for you.
Yeah. And with that said, there are general like patterns and,
Yes.
concepts that are
Themes.
themes. So let's start by just maybe generally talking about how like something called frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. Frequency is a pretty important concept when we start talking about body parts or splits, training splits, body part splits, regional splits. And matter of fact, before we even get to that, we'll just define a full body training split is where every day in the training covers the full body.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, like you could say, well, you have to do one exercise per body part each day, but that's kind of overkill because if I do a bench press, I'm doing a push, and a push is going to cover my chest. It's going to cover some shoulders, and it's going to cover some triceps. So I've kind of covered 3 big muscle groups with that one exercise. If I do a squat, I'm going to get some quads. I'm going to get some glutes. I'm going to get some adductors. I'm going to get some core. There's a bunch of things I'm going to get. If I do a hinge, hamstrings and glutes. If I do a pull, I'm going to get some biceps, some back, maybe some rear delts. If I do right? So you're kind of four main patterns: push, pull, squat, hinge, and then maybe like an accessory for like your arms specifically, or calves or abdominals. 5 exercises covers a full body.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would come in the next session and you do 5 exercises that cover the full body, but differently. So instead of a bench press, you might do a strict press overhead.
Yeah.
Instead of a squat, you might do a lunge. Instead of a good morning, you might do a GHD hip extension. Instead of a pull-up, you might do a row, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So that's full body. Regional training splits are where you say, okay, we're going to train this region of the body today. So that could be like a pull day, the PPL, push, pull, legs programming that people do. That means one day you come in and you just do push exercises, generally upper body push. So bench press, shoulder press, dumbbell lateral raises for shoulders, some tricep press down. So everything that would be like extension of the elbow, pressing of the shoulder, that's one day. Then the next day is pull. So that's pull-ups, rows. Maybe you do some, low back on a hip extension. Maybe you do some bicep curls. So you've got your pull day. And then leg day would be you come in and you squat, you come in and you do lunges, you come in and do hamstring curls, you do a little leg extension, you do all legs. That's a region by region approach to training. Upper lower splits are also like that. I do upper body day, I do lower body day. I do upper body day, I do lower body day. Another regional training split that we do sometimes is full body push, which just means squatting and pushing of the upper body on the same day. Mm-hmm. So you're doing lower and upper, but you're not doing the back side of your body. You're kind of doing the front of your body with like quads, chest, shoulders, and triceps. And then on the other day, you're doing the back of your body, hamstrings, glutes, lats, upper back, and maybe some biceps.
Yep.
The last one is a body part split. And this would be, there's chest day, there's back day, there's arm day, there's leg day, and then there's shoulders. And each body part is kind of getting its own focused day. And so when you have a look at these, there's a frequency sort of limiter that happens.
Yep.
If you do a body part split, if you took no rest days, A typical body part split has 5 days of training, 5 body parts. I just listed them. So if you took 0 rest days, or let's say you take 1 rest day. So you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those are your body part days. Then Saturday you rest, and you come back on Sunday again and you start the body parts over. Then every 7th day you're getting to see the same body part.
Yep.
So chest on Monday, then the chest on Sunday, and then the chest on Saturday, and so forth. If you do a regional split, you're going to suddenly shorten that time down dramatically.
Yep.
You could be training push every 3rd or 4th day. You could be training legs or quads every 3rd to 4th day. So instead of having to wait, 6 days, 7 days till you get to your next, chest day, you're hitting it more frequently. Full body. Okay, if you're doing full body, then in theory, you're kind of hitting every part of the body every time you train. So you could be doing it every 2 days. You could be doing, the same muscle groups. So that's the frequency portion of looking at which training split makes the most sense. There's also a certain amount of, then we talk about like volume, the amount of work that you're doing.
Yep.
Now, if you want to do, I don't know, let's just say people talk about getting 10 working sets of a muscle group is like, that's a good amount in a single session for that muscle to get like completely hit. So 10 sets of chest, that'd be like 10 sets of bench press and then 10 sets of dips. Sorry, 5 sets of bench press, 5 sets of dip for 10 total sets, because both of those exercises hit the chest. So if that was the goal, then let's look at that in a body part split. Monday, you'd do 10 sets of chest. Tuesday, you'd do 10 sets of back. Wednesday, you do 10 sets of arms. Thursday, you do 10 sets of legs. That's a very manageable amount of work for a single session. But if you're doing a regional split and you're doing upper body push and pull, that means you got to do 10 sets of push plus another 10 sets of pull. So Monday is your push-pull day. You got to do 5 sets of bench, 5 sets of dips, plus 5 sets of pull-ups, plus 5 sets of rows. Okay, now you're up to 20 working sets in a session. It's starting to be a little harder.
Yeah.
Now let's say you're going to do a full body split. Okay, you're going to do 10 sets of push, 10 sets of pull, 10 sets of squat, 10 sets of hinge, and then 10 sets of your finisher core. You're doing 50 sets in a single session. That is absurd. That's an absurd amount of work to do in a single session. So you have to break that up over the course of a week. And so this is where things have gotten, this is where I think we arrive at the variable that most people should consider when they're thinking about which program, which type of split makes the most sense for them. Because the research and the evidence suggests pretty strongly and conclusively that you've got to get a certain amount of volume at a high intensity level each week to maximize your muscle building potential, or to at least maintain and hit the minimum effective dose. And to keep it relatively simple, we talk about a 10 to 20 set range for optimizing your muscle growth and strength development. So we need 10 to 20 sets per muscle group body part. Some muscle groups, you can do 20 sets, maybe even more, and you can recover and you can keep progressing. Some muscle groups, 10 sets is enough. If you do much more than that, you start to fatigue, you don't see progress, but it's somewhere in that 10 to 20 range that is optimal. So if you're doing, if you're going to try and spread 10 to 20 sets per body part around the week, then how frequently are you training is going to help you determine which is probably your best training split. Here's one of the things that I have, and the reason why most of the community has fallen the science-based, evidence-based community has fallen out of love with the body part split, the traditional gym split, is because you have to get those 20 or 10 to 20 sets on a single day. A lot of people opt for that 20, the upper range of that. To do 20 sets hard of chest on a single day is very difficult. We did 3 really hard sets, and because we did some rest, pause, myo rep matching sets on the last, I would almost consider that like there were probably 4 or 5 sets that we did, but forget the semantics there. We did hard sets for 3 to 4. I could not imagine coming back and doing 16 more sets like that today.
Yeah.
I mean, number one, my legs would be absolutely thrashed for the whole next 4 to 5 days. And that would be pretty miserable, especially since I want to like be active and doing stuff. Number two, I'm confident that I didn't have that much intensity to bring. At least I probably could have brought it for maybe 2 more sets, but once I got 10 more sets into a leg workout, trying to push that intensity, it'd be super hard to muster up and do anything productive the rest of the day.
Yep.
We would not be having a podcast right now.
No.
So, and that's true for most people, unless you're like an absolute animal that has no desire to do anything else with their life and can go and take a nap after training and is hopped up on lots of caffeine and just like kind of borrowing energy from tomorrow so that you can make it through today's workout, then that doesn't really suit you very well. And so what people end up doing who follow those body part splits is that their first 1 or 2 exercises are great. The next 3 to 5 exercises are pretty marginal, not that great. They're not getting a lot of intensity. So they're actually not getting the level of intensity that they need in order to progress optimally in their training program.
Yeah.
Now with a regional split, you can spread that out over 2 to 3 days in a week. There might be 2 push days that are out there for you, or 3 push days, or 2 leg days. And so we can do our leg press and our lunges on one day, and then you can do your back squats and your, rear foot elevated split squats on another day. And there you go. Like you get to focus for 6 to 8 sets on one day and 6 to 8 sets on another day. You can bring lots of intensity. You can recover in between those. You're not debilitatingly sore. This is the this is the training split, the regional training split that we have adopted for most of our programs in Persist for years. It is great for 4 to 5 time a week trainees in my experience, because you want to get in the gym that frequently. This helps you spread your body parts out over those days. Your movement patterns allows you to get a lot of quality work on one day, but it doesn't make you have to get all of it on one day. You can recover and rest and come back and hit it again hard. And that to me has been great for training, again, 4 or 5 days per week. If you're only training 3 days per week, it's harder to do a true regional split. Yeah. Like a push, a pull, and a legs, because you're not getting that frequency that we need. Mm-hmm. So that is really the number of days per week where I think a full body training split is optimal, or better suited for people that are training less frequently. You're training 3 days a week and you want to hit every muscle group as best you can for one really hard, good exercise for 3 to 4 sets, and then call it a day. And then the next time you come in, another 3 to 4 hard sets. And then the next day, another 3 to 4 hard sets. That's your 3 days in the week. And guess what? By the end of the week, every muscle group has been trained for 10 to 12, in some cases 15 sets. And you've really covered your bases for your strength and hypertrophy by making sure that each day you're doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And what would you suggest? Because I know this question comes up a lot for people who do other sports and activities and they want to get in the gym a few days a week for their strength training, but they don't want that to impact their other sport.
Well, it comes down to like, what's the sport and what's the intensity of that sport. You have to decide, you have to figure out what is how often can I go to the gym and put forth hard effort, but show up to my sport recovered and ready to play.
Yep.
So that's different for every person.
Yeah.
You know, our friends Ryan and Martina, they play pickleball pretty competitively almost every day, but they also train 4 to 5 days a week in the gym, and they're able to recover enough. They've had to opt for a training plan and persist that's a little bit, less total volume. So they went from doing perform workouts, which had a little bit more intensity and volume, to doing more pump condition workouts. And that is suiting them really well, but they're training 4 to 5 days a week, and that's working for them.
Yeah.
Somebody else who's doing some pretty hard jujitsu, 3 or 4 days a week, plus they're also doing some, additional endurance sessions, cardio sessions outside the gym. They might decide, hey, you know what? I can only do 2 days or 3 days of resistance training per week. I remember in a recent episode, we talked about like 3 days a week of resistance training is essential. But this person's doing jujitsu twice a week. They're grappling. That is resistance training. You're working against somebody's, body weight and so they're getting plenty of resistance training, but they know that 2 to 3 days of gym specific strength and conditioning is going to support their sport.
That's right. Yeah.
So that person is going to opt for the full body training split ideally, right? Or at least, a regional split that allows them to kind of cover big movement patterns. Like I would kind of have them on like a full body push day, a full body pull day, alternating back and forth with that. If they get 2 sessions in, great. If they get 3 sessions in, great. But, doing something like body part specific for that person is terrible because they don't get to they're not doing resistance training enough for that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Now, what you should be on the lookout for is, are you able to recover between the sessions so you can come back and really hit it hard? This is the thing I look for when we test programs, when I do programs. I've experimented with doing kind of a full body approach for a 4-day-a-week plan, which I haven't discussed as like, the optimal thing, but I just wanted to experiment with it. And what I found was that, if I push a lower body exercise, so my legs and my chest super hard, 4 days a week, I'm pretty wrecked. Like that doesn't work super well for me.
Yeah.
I basically can do like leg press one day, kind of like an RDL heavy another day, squat another day. And then the 4th day, I'm just like, I barely got anything. Like I like muster up everything I have to do a lunge,
Yeah.
And, but I could do pulling hard every day. Mm-hmm. I could pull, I can get lats, I could do all the pulls. I can do shoulders every day, in some capacity, whether it's lateral raises or.
Well, we are not the same.
Yeah. So we're each different, but, that's sort of, again, something to pay attention to. And that's, there are general, like, the delts, the shoulder muscles, they do tolerate a lot more volume than other muscle groups, generally across the board. So it's like those muscle groups could get programmed a little bit more frequently, but those are just some like nerdy things that I like to think about when I put together programs. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're doing a push-pull legs type of program.
Yeah.
And great. So in many push-pull legs programs, you do push-pull legs, rest. So it's a 7-day plan. You do 6 days of training, PPL, rest. Well, some people do the push-pull legs. The second day of push, they feel great. the second day of pull they feel great, but the next day of
leg day.
legs they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't feel so good because I haven't had enough time to rest from that
Yeah.
last one.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not optimal. Then you're
Yeah.
not being able to progress each thing, adequately. But outside of that, it's like, is it the training splits fault that you aren't
Right.
progressing?
Right.
It's like, we got to look at your recovery. We got to look at your,
Maybe you need a little deload here and there.
yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, what gets you excited to train?
Yep.
What covers all your bases? What program is being developed in a way that's not going to this is the thing that people really commonly overlook that don't have much of an exercise, like coaching science background, is like, is this a balanced training program?
Yeah.
If I follow this for a month, everyone's going to feel awesome in the first 2 to 3 weeks of a program. But it's like in weeks 6, 7, 8, 9, and going forward, like, are you developing like overuse injuries because this program totally neglected all upper back training and it just had you doing all, lower back and upper body pushing, and you never did any, rear delt work or rhomboid work or, anything like that? Like, that's a problem. And so I know we pride ourselves on just really looking at like balance in movement patterns, in muscle groups, to support joint health and to
Yep.
keep you, consistent. And the messages that I get in this sort of last, segment of a year, the beginning of a year, is like, I get messages of like gratitude from people who are like, I really stuck with this thing and I'm so glad I did, because I saw the value of a thoughtful, balanced program design when I completed over 6 to 12 months. I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm more consistent than I've ever been. All the programs that I followed in the past left me eventually kind of beat up and burned out, but this didn't do that.
Yeah.
And that to me is more important than whether you're following the perfect training split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would also add, pick one that you can do consistently with your own schedule in life.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any questions y'all have on training splits, please send them our way.
Yeah.
You can DM us on Instagram at Satya Khan, at Marcus Philly. Go and try our 3 times per week full body pump lift or pump condition program that we have in Persist. It is live right now. And if you're in that category of like, I've got 3 good days to train per week, that's what I want to get after, then we've got a full body training split just for you.
Yeah, and Persist comes with all kinds of things. You can do pillars 4 days a week. You
That's
can
right.
do pump 5 days a week. Go explore the options.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
We'll
Talk to
see
you
ya.
soon.